It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
These are the final seconds.
The lead in the fourth. Can they hold on to it?
That do or die time. And everything rides on one shot. But it isn't going to be that easy.
And it's a one-point game.
This is down to the wire.
They're going to try the three-pointer attempt.
One shot to take you to the top. One winner. This is clutch basketball. That's the NBA playoffs. That's game.
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 412 of Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. If you download the app, you can join us next week to be determined to get in on the action. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matlin. I am joined, as always, by the active stick, Laura Saba. Laura, we are a little under 24 hours removed from the Canadiens failing to win the Stanley Cup against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to be talking memories today, but how are we feeling 24 hours after the fact?
I'm feeling pretty good, to be honest. After a day, obviously in the moment you're really sad. And this morning I had moments like, for example, I finally listened to the press conferences from Brendan Gallagher, Carey Price, Shea Weber, Philippe Danault, Dominique Ducharme. Those were the ones that were the post-game comments from like after the game, immediately after the game. Canadians haven't really posted any content today. I'm guessing they gave everybody the day off. And I got emotional. I was sad for them. But the more I keep thinking about it, it's kind of surreal. The Canadians went into the Stanley Cup final this year. And I just, I'm very happy and proud that they were able to do that. And they were able to give us so many moments. And how many teams can say they got this many, or how many fans can say they got this many moments this year?
And that's the thing. Like, this season is made up of so many incredible moments. Like, you have things like Alexander Romanov's first NHL goal. You have Nick Suzuki undressing Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs. You have Josh Anderson's first goal as a Canadian. Tyler Toffoli just absolutely murdering the Vancouver Canucks for an entire season. You have the arrival of Cole Caulfield, and there's so many minutes or moments to choose from just in the regular season and in the playoffs. Like, in the first game in Canada in front of fans in over a year, the Canadians got an overtime game-winning goal from Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield combining on a pass. And that's that kind of moment where you go, this is something special. This is something insane. Like, how is this happening? Oh, wait, no. I'm wrong. Game 6 was the Kotkaniemi overtime winner in front of fans. I'm sorry. Like, regardless, still really cool and important that it happened. I'm going to try and settle on one, but for myself, in the regular season, Cole Caulfield's first NHL goal being an overtime game winner stands out for me as probably my favorite moment in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, that Kotkaniemi overtime winner against Toronto, that's that kind of moment where everything went, this is happening. Like, this is actually going to be a thing that happens. Nothing is slowing this down, at least until the next round.
I honestly can't argue with that. I think my favorite regular season moment was something a little less, I guess not dramatic, but a little less weighty, was when Brendan Gallagher and Carey Price played for the Laval Rocket. I thought that was my favorite, like, in-season moment. As for the playoffs, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It was when I lost faith in Game 6 against Vegas, and you and Kyle yelled at me in the group chat, and then the Canadians won that series. And then for about an hour or two even, we just sat there and we were like, the Canadians are in the Stanley Cup final. That was, I think, for me, my favorite playoff memory. And there were many, There were so many, like the Paul Byron Montreal Modern Museum of Art whole thing from the very first game of the playoffs, which was, now it feels like, 2 years ago. That was amazing. There's so many little moments. Carey Price's wink for me, just how confident and cool he was. That, all the comparisons that people made to 1993, that spooky sort of set of coincidences that happened between this team and that team was a big one. The Celine Dion one was a hilarious one where, she had to come out and be like, no, I don't endorse that. That was a big one. Just, I think, I don't think that the highest peak was the coming back from 3-1 and beating Toronto. I think that was a massive emotional high, but I think the peak where, the happiest that I felt was when they won Game 6 against Vegas.
Yeah. And that's it. Like you said, it's so hard to land on just one thing because there's so much, like, through 3 rounds and parts of the final round, like Carey Price himself could have a dozen moments. His blocker save on Mitch Marner in Game 1, where he's smiling the whole way, is just incredible. The response in round 2 to losing Jake Evans to the coward Mark Scheifele was to go out there and just beat the crap out of the Jets for 4 games and then sweep them with an overtime winner set up by Cole Caulfield, and then to go to Vegas and go through the Celine Dion mind games, which, what a sentence to say out loud. It's these playoffs and even the regular season, which sucked for a majority of it. And, we called out a lot of people and they proved us wrong in the playoffs, and it's going to take some time to reassess. And we will do that in the off season. Trust me. But this team was so memorable looking back on it that we look at things that it's like, oh, that happened this year. Like, there are things that I've forgotten that have happened in this season because of how long it's been going on for. And honestly, I'm glad that fans got to experience this. And we will touch on Nikita Kucherov's comments on Canadiens fans Monday. We're not getting into anything serious today. Today is about enjoying the Montreal Canadiens and everything that goes along with that. The fans that got to enjoy this Canadiens playoff run in person, however many, and 3,500 to 3,500 in the building in the Tampa series. It's been fun. And we asked for our listeners' favorite memories, and you came through in emails and tweets and everything else. So coming up next, we're actually going to take a look at some of the ones you emailed to us. We're going to discuss those, and we're going to take a look at some of the tweets that our listeners have sent us. And that's all coming up next.
Yeah, you're making sports bets, but are you making winning sports bets? To win consistently, you need an edge, research, analytics. It's a lot. Or you could let BetQL do the work for you. Every game, every potential bet, from winners and losers to all the sides and totals, line movement, player props, and more, all backed by BetQL's proven data and analytics. BetQL analyzes over 350,000 unique bets every year and rates each potential bet on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. A 5-star is definitely a smart bet. 1 star, smart money is staying away. BetQL even lets you sort all of today's games with the best options listed right there at the top of your screen. BetQL gives you access to the same information the pros use, the stuff the sportsbooks don't want you to see. It's time to bet smarter and beat the books with BetQL. Visit BetQL.com today and use promo code PODCAST for 20% off. That's 20% off with promo code PODCAST at BetQL.com.
So we did put out a call for mailbag questions. Usually we ask for, in-depth stuff that we can discuss. And in this one, we just wanted our listeners' favorite memories of this playoff run and the postseason and the regular season and just the Canadiens this year, because, no need to dwell on all the bad stuff. The Canadiens lost in the Stanley Cup final. It sucks, but we should be celebrating that they got there in the first place too. If you ever want to send us an email, we are Locked On Canadiens at gmail.com. And my wonderful co-host has the emails from some of our listeners pulled up. Isn't that right, Laura?
I do. Well, first of all, I want to say hi to Jamie in Scotland, who's been listening to us, and I want to say thank you. Jamie did ask a question about the future cap, especially with the young core. We're going to talk about all of that starting next week, so don't forget. So just remember that we aren't ignoring your question. We will be asking and answering it. We will be talking about it when we talk about how Marc Bergevin is going to have to manage this cap. So let's start with Ryan Lee. Hi all. I'm still processing what happened this season, but one place I want to give credit for is how the Habs ended up here. Sorry, I'm going to start all over again. I'm so sorry. I'm still processing what happened this season, but one place I know I want to give credit to for how the Habs ended up here is Jeff Molson. In spite of the Rot Tremblay curse narrative, the truth was that the Habs were badly managed from 1994 until about 2012, give or take a few years. During that time period, the management of the Habs were incompetently run, they took too many shortcuts, and they were too quick with firing people. It's the latter part where Jeff diverted from this pattern, where he kept Marc Bergevin around, in spite of the fact that he had plenty of reason to do so. I guess fire him. I'm not going to lie, I wanted Marc out in 2018. I felt that Marc had fallen under the same trap of shortcuts. In spite of all that, Jeff stuck with Marc and allowed him to do his work, and that work is starting to pay off, and the future is here with more to come. Jeff has provided stability to the franchise, something that hasn't been seen since the Savard era. There's more work to be done, but for the first time in a long time, this feels like the Habs are on the right track. As for last night's disappointing loss and seeing everyone's sadness, I'm going to let Ted Lasso sum it up. He's provided a clip from Ted Lasso that I will send to anybody or post on Twitter as well. Onward and forward, Ryan. So I kind of understand as well, because I mean, how many of us said that it was time for Marc Bergevin to go? And he'd been here for 8 years and we hadn't seen success. 9 years at this point. We hadn't seen success. And we had a lot to say about that. But I think that it's fair that Jeff Molson had a little bit more patience than we did, because we're going to talk about this so much over the coming few weeks and months, but Marc Bergevin had a vision and he stuck to it. His vision ended up paying off this time around. He had a lot of luck though, but you have to give him credit for selling Jeff Molson his vision, and he has brought us to a Stanley Cup final, which is the furthest the Canadians have been in 28 years. So I kind of agree there. We've got another letter from a longtime listener, Zachary. Hey, Zachary. Hey, guys. So this is how I feel. I feel a little disappointed. Let's be real. I thought we could tango with Tampa Bay for a little bit longer than we did. I did expect them to make the playoffs this year. That did not surprise me. I think by the time we got to Tampa Bay in the fourth and final round, we were gassed and beat up. But now we know just what it takes to play all 4 rounds in the playoffs, and all of our young guys are going to learn a buttload from this run. Making it to the second round last year was awesome, but now we went the whole way, played with the best of the best, and we kept up. I only think good things will come of this. You have to feel bad for our veterans, though, guys who are coming to the ends of their careers, and you have to wonder when we'll be in this position again. I think it'll be really, really soon. So proud of our team. I loved listening to the podcast all season. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, everybody, like, we're still going to be here in the off season. At some point we go down to 3 days a week, but we're still going to be around. We're going to be talking about everything, signings, firings, hirings, whatever. We're going to be talking about so much of that. And we're going to have some fun interviews that I've already started trying to line up. Hopefully I get some answers, because I'm really, really excited to hear from these people that may or may not say yes to me. But to Zachary's point, the one thing we forgot to mention, which we will obviously get more in depth, because obviously there's going to be a locker clean out day and goodbye interviews and all of that. And we're going to cover all of that starting Monday. But the final interview, post-game press conference that Dominique Ducharme gave, he said that Shea Weber's thumb was injured. Brendan Gallagher, surprisingly, we thought it was still his hand that he had surgery on, the wrist he had surgery on, but actually it was a groin. Jeff Petrie, obviously his fingers, and Tyler Toffoli had a groin injury, which I did not know, but a lot of people suspected he was injured at some point.
Yeah, We always know there's going to be injuries in these series. Like anyone who watched Tyler Toffoli play in the final couple games knew something wasn't right. We knew Brendan Gallagher was broken beyond repair in many different ways. We knew Shea Weber and Jeff Petrie were playing with half a hand. I'm very interested to see what all the other people's nagging injuries are in this. And I do want to touch on that first email that we got to a little bit, because I think it's important that Marc Bergevin had to be patient, but also put his foot down and go for it. And there were plenty of reasons to fire Marc Bergevin this season. Like there was a time that we thought he was going to be fired at any minute, especially as the Canadiens continued to drop. And now when we do get into analyzing things going into the offseason, there's a lot that needs to be done. I'm writing an article for Eyes on the Prize right now about how the Canadiens Stanley Cup run can be a failure if they don't build on this. You're just the 2012 Devils or the 2014 Rangers. Then they have the pieces to, and Marc Bergevin's in a spot that he can turn this team into an actual solid year after year contender. And I'm hoping that we get to see that they have the pieces in the system to do so. I am excited. Like I can't remember the last time I was this excited for the future of this team afterwards. And locker cleanout is Friday. They will have their Zoom call tomorrow. The players start coming in at, I believe, about 11 o'clock, I think. And then Dominique Ducharme will speak at 3 and Marc Bergevin will speak at 3:30. We are going to keep getting a flood of news. And as a sidebar, I would pay attention to the new ECHL club. They are announcing their first ever signing tomorrow on July 9th in the morning. I don't know who it's going to be, but I am assuming it will be someone local. So keep your eyes peeled for that on Twitter. And coming up next, we have all of your memories in tweet form. And there are a lot of them, and there's a lot of laughs to be had. And that's coming up next. If you've been listening to Locked On Canadiens, you know that we love Built Bar. Built Bar is the only protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's soft, real easy to eat, got chocolate, plenty of incredible flavors. 18 incredible flavors, in fact, and they have both nut and nut-free options for those of us with allergies. And there are flavors from caramel brownie and lemon almond cheesecake to raspberry, German chocolate, double chocolate, orange, toffee almond. There is something for everyone, and they are 100% covered in chocolate, soft and easy to chew. They are low calorie, low sugar, high protein, and high fiber. They are everything you are looking for in a protein bar. And if you go to BuiltBar.com, you can get a free cooler with your purchase while supplies last. All you have to do is put in promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. So go to BuiltBar.com, put together your box of a dozen flavors and get them shipped. Try them out. Put in promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your next order.
This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, shouldn't your printer be smart too? It is with HP Plus. These printers know when they're running low, so you always get the ink you need delivered right when you need it. Plus, you save up to 50% on ink, so you can print whatever you want, as much as you want, anytime you want. Huh, that is pretty smart. Get 6 free months of instant ink when you choose HP Plus. Conditions apply. Visit hp.com/smart for details.
So I misspoke. We're not getting to the tweets quite yet. We have 2 more emails. Laura, what else do we have?
We've got Paul Brancho, also a longtime listener and supporter, with post-Cup finals feelings. While I'm sad that the Canadiens lost, I am beyond proud of their effort and resilience. Before the season had started, I had the Habs finishing close to Toronto, but likely advancing further in the playoffs. After the first 2 weeks, I truly believe the team had what it takes to win it all. The injuries and bad habits started to plague the team. The Habs scratched and clawed their way almost back-asswards into the playoffs, at which point it's a clean slate. The 2019 Blues were last in the NHL 3 months prior to the start of the playoffs, so nothing is impossible in the playoffs when you are united and believe in the team. Even when the so-called experts have no faith in you, teams with the inner strength and unity will prove the naysayers wrong. The future of this team is incredibly bright, and a return to the finals should be sooner rather than later if the injury bug can simply bother another team. So I will sum up my feelings thusly. Sad they lost, proud that they wildly overachieved and pissed off a bunch of fan bases while doing so. But this incredible run reminded me of why I've loved this team since before I saw my first game at the Forum in 1974. So, kind of echoing what we said, last night, is that it's going to be sooner rather than later that we think that the Canadians are going to be back to the final. And we talked about yesterday, if you haven't listened to it yet, the Canadians contending window hasn't even opened yet. It's not even close to open. We still got 2 to 3 years to wait for it to open at best. And they've already made a Stanley Cup final before that even happened. So that's something to keep in mind. And then finally, we've got an email from Jared. Hi, some tidbits that might be fun to talk about. Suzuki's open arms, head up goal celebration is golden. Perry's assist to Caulfield in Game 5 against Vegas was an awesome veteran-rookie collaboration. Also, Caulfield's enormous smile is becoming a staple. Tampa fans looked bored at their win. We would have set the city on fire if we won. Come on. Loved the booze at Gary Bettman. Got to keep that alive. Looking forward to next year. So there was a video of Chantal Machabé actually at about midnight after the game was over, and she was outside the arena and there was nobody there, and that would not have been the case obviously in front of the Bell Center. I don't know where Tampa Bay fans to go to celebrate. I honestly don't know. I wonder if they were just like going down to the pier and partying with the players, but I did not see where they go to celebrate. And I don't think they look bored though. I mean, from my experience of Tampa fans is that they are pretty passionate, even though we might not always get along with them.
Yeah, I'm not going to gatekeep how a team celebrates a Stanley Cup title or anything like that. They could have sat in the street and drank tea and had crumpets at 1:00 in the morning. I don't really care. Celebrate however you want, whether that be flipping over a cop car and throwing a pylon through the windshield or going down to the pier, whatever. However fans want to celebrate, I don't care. Like, you do what you do. I'm going to do the same thing. If the Habs won last night, I was going to do the same thing. I was going to have a beer in the shower and then go to bed probably. Like, that's not going to change. Caulfield, his smile is, I think, the future of this team. Him hugging Carey Price and looking sad last night shattered my soul, and I never want to see it again. So the only thing now is the Canadians just have to win the Stanley Cup every year, so Cole Caulfield never stops smiling. We do have to get into some of the tweets. We did get quite a few. If you ever want to tweet us, we were at LO_Canadians on Twitter. And the first one comes from DeSobes, aka the worst analyst. I was hoping they'd win another one tonight, obviously being Wednesday night, but it was an awesome run. Cheers to next season. P.S. We are keeping Perry, right?
I think the Canadians are going to offer Perry another minimum, and he might want more. He might want Wayne Simmons money, or he might want to retire and join the front office. I have no idea, but for the one thing that I've seen about Corey Perry is that he's clearly so happy in Montreal. He's playing for his childhood team. And I actually looked it up because a lot of Leafs fans, before when Corey Perry signed and said that he was a longtime Canadians fan, a bunch of Leafs fans were like, no, he's from Ontario. He liked the Leafs. And actually, no, he's been a Canadians fan the whole time. And I feel like, that to him has been amazing. And he loves his teammates. Like, nobody on that team loves the other guys more than Corey Perry loves the other guys. I'm sorry, not even Brendan Gallagher. There's something about this team that he loves. And so I think that he would want to come back. I don't know if the Canadians are going to be able to fit him under the cap, particularly since I think that they're going to really want to sign Philippe Danault and not let him walk away. But so I don't know, but you know what? Corey Perry was a bright spot this season, even when the Canadians were doing badly, like that stretch where he was one of the only players who was able to put any kind of performance together was great. So I have some feelings about that. I'm very happy, but I think the only way that Corey Perry comes back is if they can fit him under the cap. And if there's no room, maybe he'll just retire and become like an assistant coach or something.
I can see them bringing him back. It all depends on the price and whether or not he believes in this team. And I think he does. So I do think he'll be one of those guys that gets an early contract if he's coming back. Like, it'll be almost immediate. Our next tweet reply comes from Maybe It's Ian, good friend of the show. The 2021 Habs are the meme Montreal Canadiens. Even when this team struggled this season, the memes were always fun. A lot of that was the Zoomers on the team, but a lot of it was the fans on Twitter who made it fun. And he included the photos of the Kotkaniemi doing the Four Horsemen for Nick Suzuki, Jonathan Drouin, and people looking at the iPad on the bench. My personal favorite, Tyler Toffoli looking absolutely bewildered. And Ian's favorite, Jeff Petrie face. Anytime a new Petrie face dropped, I was able to always DM it to Ian, knowing that it would always be in my replies. And Ian did have another one from Marc Bergevin's press conference when the entire Canadiens organization was on fire. And in the middle of it, Cole Caulfield joins, and it's just the funniest, stupid thing in the world that Cole Caulfield out of nowhere is just like, "Hey guys, what's going on? I'm in your Zoom call now," and just looking at Marc Bergevin, looking, gray, bewildered, and the entire organization is burning down.
That is low key one of my favorite moments as well. I forgot to mention that in the first segment, but that was so delightful that I feel like we were delighted by it for like a full 2 weeks. We kept giggling about it.
It's just funny because I'm just imagining Cole Caulfield like at his dorm or whatever, and he's just like, "I'm going to check in on the team," and he just opens it up and just everything is insane. Like, I'm so glad Ian was able to get a screenshot of that. Another reply comes from T Davy 147. I just want to say that I'm super proud of the boys. They did something none of us were expecting, and it was really great to see the kids mature and grow in front of our eyes for the second straight season. Oh, the questions. Cole Caulfield for Calder, re-sign Perry, and my answer to both of those is yes. From Puck Latino, they've showed it's possible to be, the fact that they've showed it is possible to be and play like a good team, and for sure the young guys is their favorite thing that from the playoffs. We've said it a lot of times. They defied a lot of expectations, and they were lucky at first, and then they were good. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to take that away from this Canadiens team this season. From KMW Soon on Twitter, the Habs have been my favorite team, but over the past 4 or 5 years, they've drawn me into a point that it's an all day, everyday thing for me. This run being pretty unexpected made it so much cooler. I love this team, and this has been so much fun. I gotta say, there's a lot of people, even my friends who cheer for other teams, who kind of got drawn into this Canadian storyline. I know that Tampa going back to back was a huge story, and the Islanders making a run, the last, yeehaw for Nassau Coliseum and everything. The Canadian storyline was so endearing that it's hard to ignore, I feel like. And obviously we're Canadiens fans, Laura. So like, it's a little bit of a bias thing for us, but if it's drawing in new fans, that's what this team wants, right? It's making the next generation of Canadiens fans.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And this is the thing, when you've got mediocrity, a lot of times, like what'll happen is fans will cheer out of loyalty because their parents are fans, and they may, like, for example, if my kid cheered for anyone other than the Canadiens, I'd be very, very, very upset with them. Well, that's not true. I would let them cheer for whoever they wanted, except for the Leafs and the Boston Bruins. And honestly, I wouldn't care if it was anybody else. But yeah, so like, there's a lot of like, parental, it gets passed down, but when it's organic, and when the team captures somebody's imagination because they did something magical like this year, that's something that stays with you forever.
Yeah. Our next tweet comes from Goalie Droid at C31PO on Twitter. Their favorite thing was all the OT goals, but especially the ones against Toronto, the Kotkaniemi and the Nick Suzuki overtime game-winning goals. As for feelings, I'm from Cleveland and therefore incapable of feeling anything after sports losses. Like, this was a good loss. So I'm mostly just curious what happens this offseason, especially on defense. One, I'm so sorry about the Browns. That sucks a lot. But I think that statement there, it's a good loss. It stings, but at the same time, I'm not, despondent anymore. I'm kind of getting over it. It sucks, but that's the part of it. And our last one comes from Beltane Maiden 83. Their favorite moments were Galley landing himself in almost every scrum and manages to pester all of his opponents. Loved when Cole and Suzuki fired up the line. What a duo. Can't wait to see more of that. And Price wowed as always. Loved his winking. Love Carey Price. Man, it was everything there. Suzuki, Caulfield, Carey Price. It was fun. This was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Laura?
I wouldn't change it for the world. Honestly, people want to talk about how they got all the way and they didn't win the cup. Who cares? Who cares? Really, who cares? It's all these other fans that are saying that. There are no Habs fans that are like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. They got this far. Every moment was fun. Every win was fun. That comeback was fun. Winning against Winnipeg was fun. The Vegas and all of that back and forth was fun. Everything about it was fun, except for the part where they lost. And that was one night.
Yeah. And we will have plenty more postseason, postmortem, all that other stuff coming up. As always, if you want to follow us, we are at @LO_Canadians on Twitter. Laura is at The Active Stick, and I'm at Scott Matla. Thank you so much for everyone who helped to follow, listen, shared our episodes, interacted with us going into this playoff run. It's been the most fun, and we're not stopping now. And if you really enjoyed this, we want you to check out Locked On Today, where you can get all the sports news you need in under 20 minutes. Host Peter Bukowski will update you on the latest news in every major sport with the help of our local experts. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.